upon a time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. Status quo. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan live, Sunday afternoon, August 25th, 2019. We are done with the status quo. We are done with the status quo, and that is why we need a status quo here at the United Corporations of America. And I am very, very happy to be with you. 315 people watching strong, and I haven't even gotten ridiculous yet. So thank you for watching. Hope everyone is having a nice weekend. I am Jordan Sheridan, Status Coup. Thanks. We got the nice logo behind us, green screen. which Ty, who is no longer with Status Quo full-time,
Why
but
do you have to just say it's Ty?
Well, not everyone knows. Anyway, Ty helped us out with that graphic and some other things that we have.
Show them what else you got.
They'll be seeing. We got some other cool features that hopefully work. The microphone is working. Just want to let you know, so you know the full extent. I got my water here for this marathon. I also have my prunes from Trader Joe's to help my colon move. So it's going to be a fun day. I know everybody wants to hear that. So remember, folks, we come live on Sundays while everyone else is at the beach to build Status Quo. We need to grow the media revolution. So for all 342 of you watching, I need you to smash the like button. Smash that like button into smithereens. It is right under the video. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see. We already have 350 people watching, so I think at this rate we'll be up to 500 before you know it, and maybe we could even grow from there. So if you're watching on your phone, real quick, just X out of the live chat, press that X button, and then smash the thumbs up button. That's how YouTube's algorithm works. If you haven't noticed, YouTube is squeezing and throttling this channel more than ever, and other independent media channels, so we need you to press that like button. Also, we are just four members away from 700. That graphic is a little outdated. We're at 696. So I hope we smash past 700 in the next hour. I know there's 4 of you that are not Status Quo members yet. Sign on the bottom line. That's statusquo.com/join. And as soon as you become a member, tomorrow, Monday night, Jen and I are having our monthly call with our members. Our video call with our members. It's not through YouTube. We do it through Zoom. So every single member, statusquo.com/join. And for those members that have joined us before, you know how it is. We answer questions, comments, concerns, ideas. We probably give you way too much information. But it's a fun time. We'll have it tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern. So for those of you who want to join, become a member today, statusquo.com/join. We'll get into membership more a little bit later. Also, follow us at Status Quo. We're now less than 1,000 followers on Twitter from 10,000. And that's great because we've only started really tweeting from Status Quo within the last 2 months. So let's get that up to 10,000. Subscribe to our podcast. That's Status Quo Podcast. Rate us 5 stars. Leave a review and join our email list by going to statusquo.com, and you'll see a little section to enter your email. So I just want to give you a short update, and then we're going to get right into it. Wow, we already got some super chats, which I will definitely show in 1 second. We haven't really been pushing our GoFundMe because we don't want to push too many things at once. But I just want to remind you guys that in order to not sell out, in order for Status Quo to not sell out, we are growing from the ground up. We are growing from the ground up. So the more people, if you got $5, $10, or even more, the more people that could be so kind to donate to our GoFundMe today, the more we could get out into the field. We are trying to get to $85,000. We're now about $23,000. Actually, almost $22,000 from that goal. And we're almost at 1,500 donors since September. And we launched this in September, but doesn't really count for that long because we didn't push it at all for 3 months when YouTube was censoring us and we couldn't go live. So we want to push that today. I think it's very possible to get to 68,000 within the next hour. So that would be a little over $400. And then let's get to $69,000. So Super Chat, GoFundMe, and membership. We're going to try to do a little bit of everything today, but we really appreciate it. We know that a lot of you are donating to political candidates you support. You're also living paycheck to paycheck. So if you can't donate, we totally get it. If you can't become a member, we totally get it. What you can do is press the like button, press the share button, and all those good things. So let's get right into it. And I'm just going to read the first couple super chats so I could thank you guys. Super chat is right in there. Thank you.
Go to the thing.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Apparently, we now have a feature. Let's see if it works, where comments are going to show up right on screen. So we have super chat. Let's see. Thank you, Balthazar, $4.99. 7-Eleven was an inside job. Fresh brewed hot coffee isn't hot enough to melt chimichangas. Clearly, we had Slurpee cells. Love it. Totally love that.
Let me show you so they can see it while you're seeing it. This is what I'm talking about. Oh, you got it right there.
I have it.
Oh, what's my bad?
So, thank you, Balthazar. And I haven't had a 7-Eleven Slurpee in a long time. Lawrence Johnson, $5 in the super chat. Are those cool hats for sale? You know what, Lawrence? We have been asked that so many times. We're trying to get the hats onto our merchandise store, which, by the way, go to statuscoup.com, click on the store. Summer's not over. You can still get a Status Coup shirts, Status Coup anything on our store, but we will have hats eventually for you to buy. Siriba, $2.79. Kamala new strategy seems to attack Bernie. Oh, I'll be getting to that. Lawrence Johnson just asked, are those cool hats for sale? Anthony Young, $20 in the super chat. Smash, lunch on me, guys. How kind of you, Lawrence. With a couple more $20, we'll be able to get some empanada mama around here. So I want to get to CNN, or as I think they should be called, the Clinton News Network. Obviously, Hillary Clinton isn't running again, for all we know. As of now, she's not running. But CNN is still running and still doing their coverage, if you want to call it that, under the same neoliberal, propagandish, corporate cronyism playbook. And I bring with you today, before I get to this segment, a copy of Noam Chomsky, Media Control. This is a little free promotion for the legendary Noam Chomsky. And I want to read a short little sentence to you, because I think it sets up this CNN segment very well. And again, Media Control, Noam Chomsky. So, one conception of democracy has it that a democratic society is one in which the public has the means to participate in some meaningful way in the management of their own affairs, and the means of information are open and free. If you look up democracy in the dictionary, you'll get a definition, something like that. That is one definition of democracy. An alternative conception of democracy is that the public must be barred from managing of their own affairs, and that the means of information must be kept narrowly and rigidly controlled. That may sound like an odd conception of democracy, but it's important to understand that is the prevailing conception. So that is the legendary Noam Chomsky. I'm reading you a bedtime story at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. So I want to show you some of this CNN segment, which this morning, Bernie Sanders got testy with them, and I don't blame him, because it was just ridiculous framing after ridiculous framing. So I'm going to play some of this for you, and then I'm going to cut in, cut out, because I think Bernie Sanders shamed CNN. Let's take a look.
I want to talk about Medicare for All now. You revealed, in addition to your plan this week, saying that if companies save money by switching from union healthcare, from a union negotiated healthcare plan to Medicare for All, those savings would have to be passed along to those workers who belong to that union.
Right.
How would you explain to non-union Americans why they should not also receive a benefit for giving up their private insurance if, for instance, theirs saves money as well going to Medicare for All?
Well, they are going to receive an enormous benefit. The overwhelming majority of the American people are going to pay significantly less for better health care under Medicare for All. Right now, you got 87 million people who are uninsured, who are underinsured, 500,000 people who go bankrupt every year because they cannot pay their outrageous medical bills. You got 30,000 people who are dying. People are spending 10, 15, 20% of their limited incomes on health care.
But they won't get the higher wages or the benefits that union members would get.
Wait.
No, I hear what you're saying, but you're saying union members.
Well, excuse me, what Medicare for All will do is lower the cost of health care for the overwhelming majority of Americans. That's how they benefit. No premiums, no co-payments, no deductibles, no out-of-pocket expenses. Every American, virtually every American.
But a non-union worker, unlike a union worker under your...
So, oh my God, I love that. First of all, for any viewers watching that are members of the tribe, my friends in the Jewish community, this reminds me of my grandma, may she rest in peace, Mamo, who used to say, "Excuse me, I'm speaking, excuse me." Love Bernie Sanders, and I love that wonderful Jewish accent. Philip Blair, $2 in the super chat. Jordan, you're a breath of fresh air. Why, thank you, Philip. Thanks for watching. We also have, I missed one. Chris Garrett, who's going to be lucky member 700? That is true. We are now four members away from 700. So I know this almost 700 of you are watching. Statuscoup.com/join. Support us. You could become a member as low as $5 to $10 a month at statuscoup.com/join. So what's amazing to me about this, and by the way, for those of you that don't know, how this whole thing came up was there has been some concerns among labor unions. There's been some concerns among labor unions that, labor unions, of course, have fought for decades and decades and decades, basically for scraps, because they've been more and more squeezed by these corporations that are allowed to do whatever the hell they want to union members. They've been making union members pay more and more into their health care year after year, cutting back their wages, cutting back their benefits, and because the unions are spineless, because the unions, frankly, are still working in a domestic playbook instead of an international playbook, they have basically said, okay, well, we'll take anything. I mean, if you're gonna keep taking away from us, we give up. We'll just take whatever. That's been a lot of the labor union movement in America over the last 20, 30 years. And of course, there's been a huge union bashing. We're going to talk about the death of David Koch, which, frankly, sorry, I'm not in mourning. Sorry for his family, not sorry for America. This is a good day for America. Sorry to say it. Some people might not like that real talk, but that's the truth. I'm not going to celebrate the Kochs. So basically, Bernie Sanders has been, political candidates. There's a difference between just, moonwalking with the wind, like Mitt Romney, Hillary Clinton, Kamala for the people of Wall Street, Harris, or Bernie Sanders, who's saying, okay, well, there's some legitimate concerns among people in labor unions who healthcare is a very, very sensitive topic. They fight and they have fought to get decent healthcare from their labor unions. I don't know if it's so decent if you keep having to pay more and more of your paycheck into that healthcare. And Bernie Sanders, instead, he hasn't changed anything in his Medicare for All plan. He hasn't changed a word. All he has said is, as president, I am going to make companies who have workers in labor unions give back some of the money that those workers in the unions have given away. So if you're a labor union person under Bernie Sanders, if you have basically had to give up, let's say, if you instead of getting a $3 an hour raise this year as part of your collectively bargained agreement with the company you work for to get better health care, that $3 an hour wage that you conceded to get that better health care, Bernie Sanders is now working to get the wages that workers in the unions gave up to get that to them. That's not changing his Medicare for All plan, of course. That is doing something on the side for union workers. It has absolutely nothing to do with his Medicare for All plan. But what CNN is doing is what they basically have done in turn, what my friend Noam Chomsky says, propaganda. They are basically trying to, muddy the waters here. And this is what they do for free public college, for example. So free public college, which is Bernie Sanders' plan that he's been championing forever, they say, well, we don't want to pay for wealthy people's kids to get free public college. So that's why free public college for Bernie. So 98% of the people will benefit, but because 2% of the people might have access to free public college and they're from wealthy families, oh, Bernie's a hypocrite. This is the red herrings that the corporate media, particularly CNN, like to throw in. So here you have the CNN anchor basically saying, well, why should these Well, let me continue with what she's saying, because the argument is so intellectually dishonest and so ridiculous. I'll let her speak for herself.
Your plan. If there is a savings, their employer sees a savings, they would not be guaranteed to have higher wages or benefits to realize those savings. Why not?
But the difference is, I'll tell you why not. Because union workers gave up wage benefits over the years in order to pay for health care, and non-union workers did not. That's the difference. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of the American people, workers and non-union workers, union workers and non-union workers, will benefit under a Medicare for All. And by the way, under Medicare for All, will cap what any American pays for prescription drugs at $200 a year. We're going to take on the pharmaceutical industry. The function of healthcare, Brianna, is not to allow the healthcare industry, as they did last year, to make $100 billion in profit, while so many of our people are uninsured, underinsured, and paying more than they can afford to pay.
Several of your 2020 rivals and their campaigns have been attacking you over this sweetener for union members. So how do you respond to critics who say that this is special treatment to a voting bloc?
Very few people have been attacking me. I think one candidate in the media picks up on it. Again, we have not changed one word of our Medicare for All system. No deductibles, no copayments. The vast majority of the American people save money. The issue, again, as I've just said, is that if you are a worker in a union shop and the company says, well, we're going to offer you a 3% wage increase, but you know what? You're going to have to pay, you're going to lose 4% in your health care. Your deductible is going up. Your premium is going up. Those workers have given up wage increases in order to retain the health care that they have. Those are the workers we are reaching out to in this, what we're doing right now. But we have not changed one word in our Medicare for All program, which is gaining more and more support for the American people. The American people understand that we have a dysfunctional system in which so many people are uninsured, underinsured, and which we spend twice as much per person on healthcare as do the people of Canada or any other industrialized nation. Now, it is true. We're going to take on hundreds of millions of dollars from the healthcare industry in 30-second TV ads. They're going to distort what I'm trying to do. They're going to demonize me personally. But at the end of the day, the American people will go forward in guaranteeing health care to all people as a human right, just as every other major country does.
I want to talk about how you describe yourself.
Oh, Jesus. So what was amazing about that, and you saw the smirch on her face. Oh, she was not happy. She was not happy that Breonna Taylor, with Bernie Sanders pushing back. Excuse me, because the framing, and again, if you have loved ones and you have pictures all over your apartment or home or wherever you live, the framing of this is so preposterous. And it starts with Kamala Harris, who, as I show you, where is Kamala Harris? Hold on. Anthony. That's not what I want. Kamala Harris, who is now on the average of the polls, down at 7.4%. Her campaign is literally sinking like the Titanic. No pun intended. Her campaign is sinking like the Titanic. So campaigns, when they're sinking like the Titanic, are going to go after anyone that, if they could put a dent in that candidate, maybe they'll rise. So her campaign thought, let's go after Bernie. Let's make it seem like he's switching, he's switching on Medicare for All, or he's moonwalking on Medicare for All, which will then, neuter his argument against us that Kamala Harris moved and moonwalked faster than Michael Jackson away from Medicare for All, which she did. She did moonwalk very, very far from Medicare for All. And as you can see, all her moonwalking, all her, her plan that, sets Medicare for All after 10 years a phase-in period. Her plan that is called Medicare for All, but it's not actually run by the government. It's run by private insurance companies. Well, apparently Americans, or people living in the United Corporations of America, apparently they're not for somebody who has no conviction, who isn't boldly for anything. She's moonwalking. She didn't run on Medicare for All when she ran for senator in California. She signed on to Bernie's plan because as the political winds were moving, so does Kamala Harris. And now she's trying to fudge, and this is how CNN and all these outlets are picking this up. Kamala Harris's campaign is feeding it to them. Bernie Sanders is wavering on Medicare for All. And by the way, as a reminder, we now have 900 people watching. 900 people watching, but only 468 of you have pressed that like button. It's the thumbs up button right under the video. So press that thumbs up button. The more people that press the thumbs up button, the more people that will see the live stream. And of course, this is a super chat, and we're trying to get our GoFundMe moving. So thank you to anybody in this audience who supports our GoFundMe. I think the minimum is $5. We're trying to get to 68,000 today, and then hopefully closer to 69,000 as we go. Jen will put the link right in the super chat. So what CNN is trying to do is basically, it's not about the actual issue. It's about making Bernie Sanders seem like he's actually not a man of conviction, and make it seem, or make people doubt, oh, well, Bernie's starting to move away from Medicare for All. You heard the term that she made, the sweetheart deal for unions. Well, call me unusual. I'd rather my president be making sweetheart deals, if you want to call it that, for workers and union members, and doing a little something extra for them to comfort their concern over a change in health care, which they have fought hard for in their collective bargaining. I'd rather President Sanders or any president be making accommodations for union members than for people on K Street and lobbyists and Wall Street bankers and fossil fuel sleazebags and big pharma and Silicon Valley and real estate developers. Wouldn't you? Isn't it refreshing? But to CNN and the other outlets that picked up this absurdity, Bernie Sanders is moonwalking. Bernie Sanders is starting, is changing his Medicare for All plan. It's absurd. Absurd. And frankly, I'm kind of happy that Bernie Sanders, during this interview, cut her off. I think Bernie Sanders, frankly, and maybe this is just my style, has been a little too kind to these CNN and MSNBC and Washington Post and New York Times people. I don't want Bernie Sanders to start borrowing from Donald Trump, don't get me wrong, but I don't think Bernie Sanders should be calling it fake news or any of this stuff. That's authoritarian stuff, and that's dangerous. We believe in a freedom of press, even if the press is awful. However, one thing that worked for Donald Trump that I think can work for Bernie Sanders, you should attack press that is not doing journalism. You should call out press when they are framing arguments in a disingenuous and, frankly, false light. Now, if CNN wants to pretend, if CNN wants to drop this phony baloney that they're neutral and just say, we are the network of the establishment, but we want all comers on. You see, my thing with Fox News, for example, my issue has always been not that they're conservative, that they always pretended to be fair and balanced. Just say, we're a conservative network, but we want all viewpoints on, and we'll have a debate on ideas. If CNN did that, I wouldn't be doing segments on CNN. But when CNN pretends to be this neutral arbiter who just, everybody, it doesn't have a horse in the race. These people like Jake Tapper. And thank you, PJ Coin, 27, I always get this wrong. I think that's 27 euro, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's euro.
Was Bernie in Kentucky yet? He's going to Kentucky today to basically shame Mitch McConnell. About time somebody did that. I wish former President Obama would have done that more. When he was president, you might have gotten more done. But I digress. Let's not get into Obama now. So CNN, though, just this segment, no. CNN couldn't stop at that. And by the way, I want to say hello, I forgot, to our Facebook viewers, all 8 of you watching right now on Status Coup's Facebook. Facebook suppresses us more than anyone. But thank you to our Facebook people watching. Press the share button on Facebook. Thank you to the folks watching on Periscope. I forgot to give you love. We love you all the same. And by the way, in addition to pressing the like button on YouTube, press the share button too. But CNN, she wasn't done. Because not only did she want to basically lie about Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All plan, you know, weakening or Bernie moonwalking, then she wanted to prop up Elizabeth Warren, which CNN, you want to talk about giving free airtime to Donald Trump in 2016? CNN has been drooling over Elizabeth Warren for, I don't know, 3-4 months. CNN, more than anyone else, maybe MSNBC too, has helped Elizabeth Warren basically get out of the political coma she was in the beginning of her campaign. And to be fair, she's done a lot better. She does have plans that she's put out. I think it's completely overblown that I have the plans. Bernie Sanders just released 3 of the most comprehensive policy proposals of any candidate in 5 days. Criminal justice reform, which was praised by civil rights leaders. A plan to strengthen unions and double union membership in his first term. And a plan to create 20 million jobs and save the planet. And I'm not dramatizing. If you read climate change activists, if you read environmentalists, if you read the experts on this issue, Bernie Sanders' Green New Deal plan, which, by the way, let's give some love to the Green Party. The Green New Deal originally was a Green Party idea, is by far the boldest. It laps Elizabeth Warren and others planned 3 times. It is expensive. It's $16 trillion, but can you really put a price on saving the world? We're not being dramatic. Look at the Amazon. Look at what's going on in the Amazon right now. Look at the wildfires in America. Look at the severe hurricanes, unprecedented number of hurricanes we're getting. Look at the drought. Look at unprecedented flooding in the Midwest, unprecedented heat in Europe. This is not, honestly, if the Amazon keeps going the way it's going, the UN report might be underselling it as far as 12 years till irreversible damage. It might even be quicker than that. And we'll have a report, an update on the Amazon a little bit later from Marcus, one of our reporters. So I want to play the rest of this, and you'll see the trend of what CNN's doing. They are trying to basically make it seem there's not really a difference between you and Elizabeth Warren, Bernie. So like, what's really your case for running here? There's really no difference. What's really the point, Bernie? Should you just drop out? Are you so 2016? Have you lost the mojo and it's all Warren's? Let's take a look.
I want to talk about Medicare for All now. You revealed, in addition to your plan this week, saying that if companies...
Industrialized nation. Now, it is true. We're going to take on hundreds of millions of dollars from the healthcare industry and 30 demonize guaranteeing healthcare to all.
I want to talk about how you describe yourself, which is as a democratic socialist. You have said that, quote, unfettered capitalism is destroying the moral and economic fabric of this country. It's one of the things that draws a lot of your supporters to you. But your 2020 opponent, Elizabeth Warren, who agrees with you on most issues, says that she's a capitalist down to her toes. She's not a democratic socialist like you describe yourself. How do you explain that to voters who are wondering what's the difference here?
Okay, well, I'll let Senator Warren speak for herself, but I will tell you what I believe. And I believe right now, if we are going to transform our economy so that it works for working people and not just large profitable corporations and the 1%, if we're going to end the absurdity of major corporations like Amazon that made $10 billion in profit last year, not paying 1 penny in federal income tax, if we're going to end the outrage that 3 people today in America own more wealth than the bottom half of the American people.
But is it
49% of all know it. But if you're going to end that, the only way you do it is when millions of people stand up and take on the corporate elite. To me, one of the aspects of democratic socialism is organizing people, and getting people involved in the political process so that we take on those people today who have so much economic and political power.
I know what your pitch is on that. Is it possible for 2 candidates who see eye to eye, but one is a capitalist and one is not?
Well, I'm not quite sure what that question is about. All I know is Senator Warren is running her campaign.
I mean,
I'm
the
running my campaign.
labels
I
are
feel very good. I
very
feel
far
very-
apart, and yet some of your policies are much closer together than those labels would indicate.
Well,
How do you make sense of that?
We'll let the American people make those decisions. All I'm saying is that if you look around the world, you look at Germany, you look at Scandinavia, they have public colleges and universities tuition-free. They have retirement benefits for their senior citizens much stronger than we have.
So, and I love it. He was like, excuse me. That excuse me was a little less of a decibel than excuse me, but love it nonetheless. And thank you, Jude LaReach, $4.99 in the super chat. Who should be Bernie's VP? Let's wait till he becomes the nominee. I've already said I think Nina Turner should be his vice president. That's my personal preference. I think she's a fighter. I think she's charismatic. I think she could bring along not just progressives, but I think, putting aside politics for a second, this is a woman who's inspiring. I'm not a religious person, but the first time I heard Nina Turner speak, I was ready to go to church. And that's somebody who isn't the biggest believer in a higher power. So I think Nina Turner is the right person for Bernie. I also think she's everything he needs. Great contrast in terms of she's younger, obviously a female. I think, hey, doesn't hurt in terms of a strong woman of color. And she also has the life experience. She's an organizer. She is not, she's only been really state senator of Ohio. She had a local position before then, but she's an organizer to her bones. And remember, Bernie has talked about, I'm going to be a different type of president. I'm going to be an organizer in chief. I think that is basically, in addition to being bought off by Goldman Sachs, I think that was Barack Obama's biggest fault as president. The guy came into office with an army of volunteers, of a big online email list, and he did nothing with it. I think Bernie Sanders would be opposite. And by the way, we have 1,100 viewers right now. We have 736 of you have pressed that like button. I know I sound like a broken record. Press the like button. It's a thumbs up button right under this video. The more people that press that like button, the more people that will see this live stream. Let's get this up to 1,200, 1,300, and beyond. Also, I want to remind you folks, I'm going to be reminding you, we got some original content also to show you. We're close. I think right now we're about three or four away from 700 Status Coup members. If you like this content, if you like our in the field content, we want to get back in the field as soon as possible. We also want to get back in the field to cover the entire campaign and to cover other stories. Right now I'm talking to the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe about getting out to Montana, Nebraska, about to cover the Keystone XL pipeline, which to me, to tell you the truth, I'm not trying to be dramatic, I think the Keystone XL pipeline might be the next Standing Rock, and I think it might be even more, unfortunately, violent than Standing Rock. We want to get out there to cover this before any pipe is built. Very hard in terms of stopping a pipeline if awareness and waking people up is halfway through construction. You want to get out there before that pipeline starts getting constructed. There's other stories we want to cover. There's a water crisis in Newark. Of course, we want to stay on the Flint water crisis. We have, obviously, there is cases of police brutality going on all over this country. There are local candidates we would like to cover all over this country. I'm going to show you my interview with one of those local candidates running for Congress in New York, Lauren McGrath, a little bit later. So statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. You also get great bonus content. And if you become a member today, tomorrow, Jen and I have our monthly video call with our members. So you'll be invited. You'll get the link to join us. Our call tomorrow, we answer your questions, comments. It's on video. It's not on YouTube. It's through Zoom. So it's not just on the phone. I'll see your face. You'll see my ugly face. And we always probably share a little too much during these video calls. So it's awesome. Now, CNN, again. First of all, they're trying to frame it, and this is kind of what you heard CNN and other corporate outlets doing during 2016. Well, you know, Hillary Clinton and Bernie, they're not that far apart on policy, right? And they're trying to do it with Elizabeth Warren, well, you know, you basically agree on most things. Well, that's actually not true. And to be fair, I'm not saying Elizabeth Warren is Hillary Clinton. I know a lot of you don't like Elizabeth Warren. She's not my first choice. She's not my second choice, but she's not as bad as Hillary Clinton on policy. She's certainly not as bad as Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and that much. So Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders don't agree on everything, because Elizabeth Warren's mentality and her case for why she should become president is the way out of this mess, the way out of this right here. If I have it still. Oh, no, I got rid of it. The way out of the mess we're in with the income inequality is to basically regulate the entire system. The more regulation, the better. Yeah, we do need regulatory reform, but I got news for you. There was regulation in place, and there was regulatory bodies in place. For example, with the Wall Street, and supposed to be regulating banks. Yeah, they were asleep at the switch, and that's by design. We have a lot of regulatory bodies in this country that aren't able to regulate because the problem is the overwhelming power of money in politics. That's why the very regulatory bodies that are supposed to be regulating big banks, that are supposed to be regulating and inspecting risky behaviors, weren't. So Elizabeth Warren is not as strong as Bernie Sanders on getting money out of politics. She has already said, if I become the nominee, I'm not going to unilaterally disarm, and I might raise corporate cash. Well, during the general election. Well, if you're already making these mini agreements with yourself, if you're already making these rationalizations with yourself to be, if you're the nominee, well, what are you going to do when you're president? When's the next, in this case, we got to take money or, meet with this lobbyist or do this because for the greater good. That's the entire neoliberal Democratic Party. So we don't need that. And I would rather Bernie Sanders lose not taking corporate money than him win taking that corporate money. And that goes for Elizabeth Warren too. But what CNN's trying to do here is frame it that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, there's really no daylight here. So why should people vote for a socialist rather than somebody who says I'm a capitalist down to my toes? Well, there is daylight. First of all, one of the biggest sources of income inequality, one of the biggest sources of our Gilded Age economy is none other than the military-industrial complex. We have over 1,000 bases, military bases, around the world. There's a lot of money to build and upkeep those bases. We have an insane amount of new fighter jets and submarines and all this stuff that we don't need. A lot of money. We are building and dropping so many bombs in so many Muslim countries. You cannot be for all the proposals that Elizabeth Warren is for, and at the same time be voting for insane $715 billion defense budgets, which she voted for last year. This year, it has been increased to $738 billion. She was not there, neither Bernie Sanders was not there for that vote, so we don't know how she would have voted. But she voted last year for the $715 billion. I would say that's a pretty big difference. One that CNN doesn't highlight because CNN, like the rest of the corporate media, they're down with the military-industrial complex. That's why half of their payroll, half of their contributors are former generals and former FBI and former CIA and James Clapper and what's his name? James Clapper, John Brennan, and all these people. So that's a pretty big difference.
CIA.
Yeah. And by the way, obviously, we got to throw in Tulsi Gabbard, who's being screwed out of the debate stage for the third presidential debate. The DNC, the polls that have Tulsi at 3 or 4%, those aren't credible polls. So Tulsi Gabbard is being screwed. But there's also, so foreign policy is a big difference. Bernie Sanders has talked about cutting the military budget. I have not heard that from Elizabeth Warren. And Elizabeth Warren has really said nothing as far as the coup attempts in Venezuela and others. And by the way, I'm going to be interviewing this week Ben Norton from the Gray Zone, who is still reporting in Venezuela. We're going to talk to him on Venezuela, China, and other things. So thank you, Renee, $5 in the Super Chat. This is a Super Chat to remind you, keep it coming in the Super Chat if you can. We are also trying to raise money in our GoFundMe, so keep it coming there. Jen will put the link into our GoFundMe. We appreciate any donations. We're trying to get to $85,000, and we've already shown you with the money that you're donating, we've been spending it to go in the field and report on stories that no one else is. So to button it up, not just foreign policy, domestically. I mean, Elizabeth Warren's plans are, they kind of go up to a certain line, but they don't go far enough. Her canceling student debt plan does not cancel all student debt. So she kind of goes up to a line, but she does not want to go too far, in my view, to upset the capitalist order. Bernie Sanders says, no, if you could bail out Wall Street, we need to bail out all students, young and old. A lot of older people are handcuffed with student loan debt. Bernie Sanders' Green New Deal plan is $16 trillion. I think Elizabeth Warren's was $2 trillion. I mean, to remedy and to get off, to cut down carbon emissions, to get off fossil fuels, I think by 2050, you're going to need more than $2 trillion. The damage that's been done is so severe. And to build up, whether it be retrofitting, wind, solar, renewables, it's going to take trillions of dollars. I don't think her plan is strong enough on that. Frankly, I don't think I don't know what her signature economic plan is. Bernie Sanders is talking about a universal government jobs guarantee. I have not heard that from Elizabeth Warren. Bernie Sanders, by the way, is strongly capital M for Medicare for all. Elizabeth Warren, it depends on the day. At the CNN town hall that she did many months ago, she said, well, we just need to get everybody to, let's just get everybody together at the table. We'll just get everyone at the table. Because, of course, if we all have dinner together with the lobbyists and the pharmaceutical executives and the hospital people, everything will be fine. We'll just have dinner, get everyone to the table, and we'll cover everybody. This is what she basically said at a CNN town hall. But then, during the debate, she raises her hand for abolishing private health insurance. But then, when asked again, she kind of has a little Kamala Harris in her. Then she's wavering a little bit. And when we had our reporter, Marcus Ely, go around covering Elizabeth Warren, she doesn't really bring up Medicare for all at her events. When her I have a plan, she put out all her plans on a table in little posters. Medicare for all was not there. So do I think Elizabeth Warren, and Elizabeth Warren has said, there's other options to get to Medicare for all. This is the talk of people who are not concretely for not only a government health care program, but ending private health insurance. Because fundamentally, you have to understand as a candidate that the problem isn't just a structural problem, which is having, so many middlemen, so much bureaucracy. The problem is the psychological problem, which is healthcare should not be a commodity. It shouldn't be something you can charge money for. It shouldn't be something you can profit off of. It should be a service to your people from a government that cares about its people. And that's that's one of the biggest differences. I don't trust Elizabeth Warren on Medicare for all. I think if she became president, you're lucky if you even got a public option out of Elizabeth Warren. And to be clear, I think Elizabeth Warren 100 times better than Joe Biden. 100 times better. No, not even a competition between Elizabeth Warren and Donald Trump. I know some of you that don't like that. Those are my views. You vote for whoever you want, but I think it's very clear between Trump and Warren and Biden. But I also think it's clear Elizabeth Warren, she's very different than Bernie Sanders. And by the way, their coalitions are very different. Bernie Sanders, significantly more people making under $50,000. Bernie Sanders doing much better among African Americans, which obviously you need African Americans if you're going to win the Democratic nomination. Bernie Sanders doing better among Latinos. Bernie Sanders doing better among those aged 40 and under. Elizabeth Warren is doing better among those 50 and older, Joe Biden's crowd. Elizabeth Warren is doing better among people with advanced degrees, masters, postdocs, those kind of things. Bernie Sanders does very, very well among those with just a high school degree, which, by the way, is the majority of Americans have only high school degrees. By the way, you're not going to become president if you don't take away some of Trump's voters. The majority of Trump's base is those with only high school degrees. Bernie Sanders does incredibly well among those. So those are the facts. CNN, of course, is trying to fudge it. And I will have another segment later. I don't want to overwhelm you with CNN's douchebaggery. So I'll have another segment on CNN a little bit later. So we got over 1,100 people watching right now. We got 928 of you have pressed the like button. A reminder, this is a super chat, so if you're feeling super, let us know. Right there on the super chat. We also have 30 people watching on Facebook, so thank you to our friends at Facebook. I'm not a fan of you, Mark Zuckerberg, but I am a fan of those people watching. For those of you on Facebook, remember, we also, I don't think they have a super chat function, but we are trying to grow, so if you don't mind, Status Coup GoFundMe, I guess you could Google it or whatever. Status Coup GoFundMe, any amount counts. $5, $10, obviously we welcome larger amounts. And one more reminder, tomorrow we're having our members call with our Status Coup members. So if you're not a member, sign up. We're almost at 700 Status Coup members. You can become a member for as low as a cup of coffee a month, $5. And membership is how we grow, and we need to grow. Unless you want to rely on CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post to cover the 2020 campaign for you. If that's what you want, that's what you'll get. But if you want real independent journalists in the field, we're ready to go. Statuscoup.com/join. Now, we're going to show our wonderful, wonderful president of Status Coup, Jen Dyes, who has a report on the DNC and their, what can we call it? What can we call this? The DNC, Tom Perez, leading with their values for their fossil fuel donors.
Hey there, it's Jen coming at you with an update about what's going on at the DNC summer meeting and the efforts groups like the Sunrise Movement are making to try to get the DNC to allow the 2020 presidential candidates to have a climate-focused debate. Seems like a simple thing, seems like something the DNC would want to allow. Climate change is the most pressing issue that we face right now. I mean, some people might debate that, but climate change is connected to everything, our economy, health, the health of our people, absolutely everything. And we have just over 10 years to figure this out. So you would think that the DNC would want their candidates debating this out, so the people can see who has the best policies, who has the best plans, to really dig in and get a sense for where these candidates plan to take us with relation to climate change. Well, if you thought that the DNC as a whole would care about having such a debate, you would be wrong, because as you'll see, they've voted down every possible avenue. They are blocking this debate, and I think you will not be surprised to learn a potential reason why. But first, let's kind of start from the beginning and look at what the Sunrise Movement has posted about who supports the climate debate in the first place. So 20 out of 23 Democratic presidential candidates, great. Nearly 2/3 of Democratic voters, fantastic. Over 100 DNC voting members. And then they posted this video showing some of this debate amongst the DNC voting members. And this is a Twitter video, which tends to freeze up my computer, so apologies if it does. I'm going to make it larger here.
We deserve climate debate. Please use the microphone that you have. Everyone will just calm down.
I got 300 calls this week on this, and as a lifelong organizer, as a party leader, I can't ignore the grassroots in this moment.
This conversation is key, but it is frankly, if we wanted to make substantive changes to our primary process, a conversation we should have had last summer.
But who the hell decided it? Who was the DNC who decided it? Nobody here decided it. We never had a discussion at the DNC meeting about how we would decide it. Are we props to be managed, or are we the deciding body of the party? We have hundreds of young people representing hundreds of thousands, millions. We have our constituents here saying, please have a discussion on climate change.
So what you saw there was a compilation, and 1 second while I try to get Twitter to close out here. You saw a compilation of DNC members as well as activists. So you saw the Sunrise Movement activists who are trying desperately to get these DNC members to pay attention, to listen to the grassroots. Then you saw people like Simone Sanders, who used to work for the Bernie campaign back in 2016, but who has now apparently sold her soul to the devil and works for the Biden campaign now. And she's totally flip-flopped on like all of the previous stances that we thought she held. And now she's